Hello, if you'll introduce yourself and the office you're running for.
Hi, my name is Julie Camacho, and I'm running for the 342nd Civil District Court in Tarrant County.
Okay, if you will briefly describe your qualifications for the office you're seeking.
I'm qualified for this office because I've been practicing law for 16 years. I was top 5% of my law school class because I love the law. My dad was an attorney. When I was first adopted, my brother and I were, I was 3.5 and he was almost 6, and my dad was, he was an adjunct professor at St. Mary's University School of Law, and so he would bring home his the final exams and grade them, and I thought that was like the coolest thing ever, and so I just wanted to be like him, and that's how I decided I wanted to be an attorney. My additional qualifications for this position are that I've practiced civil litigation, I represent defendants mostly, and I know the law, I apply the law as it's written, I explain it to my clients the way it's written, and I would do that on the bench.
Okay. Can you please describe what the proper role of government is?
The proper role of government is actually, the government is created by the people to protect people and to basically keep our society and the rules that we determine are correct in line. So the government should not be in every piece of everyone's life and in their business. It should be there for those things that need a cohesive decision or a cohesive whole.
When and for what reason should state or local government be allowed to seize private property under eminent domain?
You are asking me a question I do not like. I actually represent, I've represented condemnees. So I have a current case right now that a gentleman and his business were condemned by the city of Fort Worth to move him off of the Trinity River, and they moved him behind the stockyards, and now they're condemning a portion of the property that they bought for him to put in basically a train stop. So we're talking to. So it's very frustrating. I recognize that there are times that the greater good demands that we give up portions of our property, and that so long as there's a reasonable compensation for that property, that government is required to take property from private citizens. But there are times that government is stepping into the role of a private company or generating business for private companies or taking steps that, if you look at straw polls, you look at voting records, people don't really want, but government or the people in charge think we need, and therefore they take private property. In the case of my client that has this business that he's been moved from one location and they're taking another portion of it, he's losing about $1 million a year just by what they're taking from his property. And now they're not going to give him enough money to move someplace else, and he's got a perfect location for his business, which the city bought for him. So my personal opinion is that there's almost not a way to fully compensate people for property, and that when government starts stepping into the role of benefiting private businesses, they're taking from one private citizen, giving to another, and that is not right.
Okay. Is Texas in need of civil asset forfeiture reform?
Oh my gosh, yes. I'll tell you, I actually met with Connie Burton. I was seeking an appointment to the 352nd District Court before Burgess was appointed. And I met with her, and we had I read her bill that was proposed and did not pass this last legislative session. And I gave her some suggestions because she needs a safe harbor in her bill for attorneys who would take money to represent people, because with the way it's written currently. So I drafted actually some language for her to add in a safe harbor. And then when I went back through and read, I get really frustrated on this because folks who are not convicted of a crime that may or may not have probable cause, the police officers, federal police can just, I say federal police, you know what I mean, can just take your money, whatever they consider to be fruits of the crime, which could be the car you're driving, it could be your primary residence, which is protected from seizure under bankruptcy laws, homestead laws, and they never have to actually prove that you committed a crime. And so we absolutely need reform.
Okay. What are the top 3 issues in your campaign?
In my campaign, I think my top 3 issues are that We need a judge on the bench that is experienced, but is not ingratiated to any group or particular group. I think we need, the reason I'm running, part of the reason I'm running is because I think we can really accelerate litigation by utilizing technology. So there are times that it takes weeks to get a hearing when what I anticipate if I'm elected, I'm gonna set aside 30 to 45 minutes a day for phone hearings or teleconferencing, that we can just knock out things that are non-evidentiary, and if we just move it forward, then cases get resolved. Because you know that they say justice delayed is justice denied. I've got clients that end up settling because we've been set for trial 6 times and we haven't gotten reached, and they're just like, I need to move on with my life. It's been 2 years. I had one case that was 8 years old. He just said, I want to walk away. I need to start a new development, and I can't do this if I think they're going to come in and take my money. So moving litigation forward, having people not, I guess, indebted to special interests. And the third one is having people that will be fair to every person that comes before the bench. Every person, that they apply the law fairly and evenly. I've had judges tell me that they never strike an expert. The rules of civil procedure require you to strike experts in situations where they haven't been properly designated. So I haven't actually taken any money from anyone other than my parents, and then one of my dad's old bosses sent me $500 and I didn't ask for it. So my husband and I are fully funding my campaign. And that's partly because I don't want anyone to question, hey, how's she gonna rule on this because I didn't give her money. And in most cases, civil litigants who are not attorneys did not give you money. And so to me, that's kind of important.
Okay. What do you believe are the top 3 things that make you more qualified than your opponents?
I handle civil litigation that is not just personal injury. In my civil litigation that is not just personal injury, I have condemnation cases, I have wrongful death defense cases, I have contract cases, I have tax cases, ad valorem tax cases. Like my practice is varied, and a lot of real estate actually. I don't know how that happened, but I love my real estate clients. But litigation is so much more than just personal injury. And every case that you work on, you have to be able to find the law, know the law, understand the law. And that's something that I'm really great at. I was top 5% of my class. That's one of the main issues I think that sets me apart from them. I was top 5% of my class, went to rigorous undergrad. I got a double major in economics and business. And then I went to St. Mary's, and was top 5% of my law school class. So that's one. 2, I have a lot of energy, and I'm not a politician. I never anticipated that I would run for office. I never thought I would run for judge. I was approached by a group of attorneys just to put in my application for the 352nd, and when I realized we were all gonna have to run anyways, I went ahead and made the decision. I was like, you know what, my husband and I prayed on it, talked about it, thought about it, and said, we're gonna do this. And that's when on July 31st, when I got into the race for the 352nd. And then we got out of the 352nd race before Burgess was appointed to the Second Court of Appeals. And when he was, I said, you know what, God leads you in different ways, and I think that I was called to start that race so that I would be ready for the race in November. So I'm intelligent and I can apply the law correctly. I'm energetic and I'm not a politician. And the third thing that sets me apart is that I will treat absolutely everybody 100% totally fairly, and all my friends will tell you that. My dad even said, I don't want to be in your court, you won't give me any special favors. So I think that's what sets me apart.
Okay. And last question. Please describe your political experience as well as experience as like an election volunteer, a staffer, candidate, or office holder. Be sure to include any names of any candidates or office holders whom you worked for or volunteered for.
Okay, so let me get prepared for that. So my political background is when I was in college at Austin College, I was one of the founding members, or one of the few members, I don't remember, but I remember being the treasurer and having to set up a bank account for the college Republicans at Austin College. And at the time, my dad was Vice General Counsel of Bank One US, or Texas, so that's how I knew. I remember setting up the bank account. There was no bank account. So either we were starting the organization when it was just very few members and we didn't even have a bank account. So that was in the early 90s, and I stayed active in that organization. And then when I was in law school, I know I volunteered for both Bush campaigns. I just couldn't tell you like what exactly I did. I just remember being involved. I loved those guys. And then when I was in law school, at some point I was the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and parliamentarian and everything because I was also the only member. So I'd like basically drag in these first and second years, say, I'm graduating, you guys have got to take this over. So I did that in law school, and then I kind of took a break because I graduated from law school. Like, go figure, live really busy. And my husband is the director of constituent services for Congressman Roger Williams, and his best friend is Casey Pipes, and Casey has had us get involved with him with Kay Granger. Casey was Kay Granger's chief of staff at some point. I think it was chief of staff in DC, and so she had some, they were kind of outreach meetings just to meet with like 10 or 20 people in the community to find out, to just kind of get some new ideas for brainstorming for younger generations. This was probably about 8 years ago. Now I'm not the younger generation anymore, but I guess maybe I am, I'm 45, but so did that, and then we've gone to a couple, obviously for my husband's boss, you know, gone to some of his functions, and this is the first any type of election I've been involved in because I never thought I would run for an office, but I love the law, and so my plan, I think, what my goal is, I would love to be the judge of the 342nd Civil District Court. I don't plan to be there forever. I think 10 years, 14 years, depending on who's coming up and if there are any really good qualified candidates that could take that bench. I think I'd probably want to get out of there in 14 years when I'm still in my 50s and start my own practice again and get some younger people and just really train them up so that they're good attorneys, because that's a lot of what I do right now. I have a couple folks in my office that there's actually one attorney who works for Rob Myers, but she and I are co-counsel in a lot of cases, and I'm pretty much her mentor. So he does a lot of work with her. But so that's really all my political experience. Like, I haven't run for anything because I never anticipated it because I love the law. And I've always thought, why would I stop doing what I'm good at and what I love to go do something else? So
All right.
I hope that explains it.
Yeah, that's fine. Is there anything else you want to tell?
I hope you guys will vote for me. I am not a politician, but I love the law and I will apply the law. And I'm a member of the First Amendment Lawyers Association and the Federalist Society, and I am in Pro Bono College of State Bar at Texas because I do more than 50 hours of pro bono a year. This last year I did more than 75. Takes a lot of time away from practice. But, and I hope you'll vote for me.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in.
You're welcome. Thank you.